Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com. This update is taken from the Local Marketing Source Professional Development Program for local marketers.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/ScottPGallagher.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, and we're bringing you our weekly local marketing industry update. Now, our next LMS faculty call is going to be October 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And the LMS membership that we have provides access to our live instant Skype, live questions during faculty calls at the end of this call, and access to our private member forum. Now, we've got something new for you. We introduced it last week. It was the tip of the week. The Local Marketing Industry Weekly Update is going to cover a major weekly ranking tip, and that's going to be for local businesses and those that aspire to provide that service. Now, the LMS member for LMS students will also include a weekly tip, but that's going to be at the end, and that's going to be geared towards agency. So in this week's update, we're going to be covering a new tool to disavow Google links. This is big news. This is a great tool, and you should really pay attention when I cover that. Map search on PCs, how it's eroding, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the shift to mobile and some information from comScore. Foursquare, how Foursquare is now getting into local search, and Google's EMD update. If you don't know what EMD is, you should probably listen in. And finally, Matt Cutt from Google basically says that spam is going to go on forever, and some more aspects that they're talking about. So, all right. So as far as tips, last week I talked about getlisted.org. That was a place for you to go and list your business and go and see what type of exposure you have on the internet. Now this week, I want to talk about claiming those listings, and next week we're going to cover some best practices. Of course, there's some best practices with claiming as well, but setting up those profiles, and for example, what would be good for a description and pictures, and should we upload videos, and what type of categories we've got, and what type of profiles we should be looking at. But before we do that, you've got to claim the listing. And the way this works is that there are, you take an organization like Google, and they go after third parties. So they look at InfoUSA, they look at Yelp, they look at a whole bunch of data that's out there, and then try to determine the relevancy of this data, pull it together into their own database. At the same time, you've got the ability to come in and manipulate some of the data with trust. They don't always trust you. So you've likely already got listings on all of these sites that Get Listed is going to tell you, but it's going to say you haven't claimed them yet. Get Listed is going to tell you if you've claimed these or not. Well, there's going to be a little link there that you can click on to go and claim the listing. Now, when you go and claim the listing, you're going to claim a Google listing with a Google account, a Bing listing with a Bing account. And so you're going to have to create a variety of different accounts. Go ahead, open up an Excel sheet, and write the names of all the sites that you're going after, and the usernames and passwords. And then when you do go ahead, you'll want to create an account. You're going to have personal accounts for personal and business use, and then a business-owned account. We've got to separate the two. A business is its own entity. And therefore, if you go and create a Google account, for example, that will give you a YouTube channel. You go ahead and create that account, and in that account, you attach your domain name to that, and then go and claim that listing with the login that you've created for your specific domain name. So your email address might be sales@companyname.com. Well, the business account on Google that you create, you want to be able to associate that email address with that account and then go ahead and claim. Therefore, you're claiming these listings with business accounts. That adds trust. All right. So we're going to talk about something new, some news that came out yesterday. A new tool from Google that allows you to disavow links. Now, with the recent updates, and I experienced this personally, with the recent updates of Penguin and Panda, a lot of people have been hit in the SEO community in a variety of different ways. And we're talking a lot about how to bounce back from that situation and what needs to be done. One thing that we've really learned is that Google looks at percentages of links that are going to your site. And so if you've got, say, 20% of your links are one specific anchor text, well, that exceeds the threshold that Google knows as good or healthy. And if you exceed that threshold, your site is then applied penalties to it, and in turn does not rank very well. And so in Google Webmaster Tools that we've seen their Webmaster Tools transform over the last 3 years, it allows us as internet marketers to get additional information. And we can go in there and identify how many links we got coming to our website and what type of anchor text we have coming to that website. And sure, we don't know specifically what ratios are going to throw the flags, but we do know a little bit. We know that, you know, for example, 20%. If you've got more than 20% of your links coming in with one anchor text or more, you're way off the hop. You probably want to try to achieve or stay within, 5 or 6 percentage points maximum. Also, the idea of anchor text is not as relevant these days for exposure. Any type of exposure is healthy if it's in the relevant areas that your audience resides. So one way to bounce back from these updates is to curb that ratio. In other words, do we go and remove old links, or do we go and create new content with new links? Well, a lot of SEOers are going and removing those old links and removing that content, and that was Google asked us to do and whatnot. And the more I thought about that didn't make a lot of sense. It was, well, if these ratios are bad, I can focus my time and energy on specifically what I'm supposed to be doing and creating quality content and getting the exposure in the right spots, and slowly over time changing those links. I've got 48,000 links going to my website, my personal blog. We never did this for our clients. We never did a lot of the spammy techniques. So my clients weren't affected. My business websites weren't affected. But my own personal blog was affected because we tried a lot of different things on that and a lot of trial and error. And that blog was what led me down the SEO is all, excuse my language, all bullshit path. That SEO really is a manipulation. What we should be doing is focusing on internet marketing. So this tool that Google has given us to disavow links, essentially allows us to go into Webmaster, Google Webmaster Tools, and say to Google, here's a URL that I've got a bunch of links coming from, and I don't want you to count them at all. I want you to get rid of them. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's a lot easier to do that because Google knows, hey, some of us have tried things in the past. We're trying to do good things now. Let's go ahead and check this out. So this is the whole premise of PageRank from Google. It's a very, very important tool that Google has put out for us to utilize. I highly encourage you to go and check out that tool in Google Webmaster Tools and take advantage of it. Those that have received emails or notifications from Google should absolutely spend the time and energy and money, if necessary, to get your team or your company or whatever it takes to do that. If you've got any questions, we can take a look at you as well through our agency. All right, some further updates. You know that we're doing a shift from desktop to mobile. It seems to be a pretty big shift. And comScore has just recently put some data out, and that You know, over the last 6 months alone, the number of smartphone visitors to Maps websites and map apps has jumped 25%. That's on scale to do a 50% jump in 12 months. That's astronomical growth, and it's just important for us to understand these growth numbers and where they're coming from. Foursquare is also making an announcement to take on Yelp. I mean, this is no surprise, but they're a neat tool. I mean, Foursquare went on to compete against Twitter initially. That was the perception, and then they've started to collect a lot of location-based data. Well, that has to do with local. So their ecosystem, of the amount of information that they are collecting, yeah, they have a lot of value that they can provide these local businesses in a lot of different ways. They've gone ahead and they've hired Googlers in the last 12 months as well to bring in some of their aspects of their algorithm and get an understanding of that. So, you know, it's really interesting, these companies that are coming into this local market space. You know, who would have thunk 3 years ago that, okay, let's go back 6 years ago, who would have thunk that a search engine was going to lead local? Or that a company by the name of Apple was going to do that? Or an online book retailer like Amazon? You would have assumed companies like Yellow Pages. I mean, all these guys have missed the mark. It's incredible. Now Foursquare. It wouldn't surprise me if Walmart gets into it. Really. At the rate that this is going, why aren't these companies getting into it? They've been around. I just went and bought something at Radio Shack. The amount of information that they've got, why don't they get into it? Who knows? We'll see. All right, so EMD update. What does EMD stand for? If you don't know what it stands for, it means exact match domain. And this has been a beautiful little exploit in Google's algorithm for quite some time, and we just recently had an EMD update that exact match domains are not a major factor in ranking. I don't know why they were in the initial place, why we went there, all of that, but nonetheless, it's yeah, it's not a very it's impacting a lot of people. I'm happy for it because it's not something that we've ever promoted. You know, Chicago Chiropractors Services.com. It's silly. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, this has been around for 10 years. Now, Matt Cutt's discussing, will search spam go on forever? He says it will. You know, this is a cat and mouse game. And they really, you know, Google really likes to, they've really set up parameters to watch what search engine optimizers are doing.